Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Glasgow Rangers Nation live podcast. I don't know what went wrong with the music there, just kind of decided to do his own little thing there. Tonight, I am joined by Jack Hamilton from the Every Other Saturday podcast and a fantastic podcast here on YouTube and Spotify, Apple, all those other fantastic places as well. Jack, how are you doing tonight? How's your day been, and how are you feeling ahead of tomorrow?
Cheers for having us on again. Looking forward to obviously talking all things Rangers at the moment. I'm as good as I can be with Rangers being back, to be honest with you. Looking towards the game tomorrow, hopefully get a reaction for that. And yeah, I'm all right in terms of actual life. Rangers, though, is a different story.
Oh no, I think it's the same for all of us, Jack. It was such a big build-up, wasn't it? I think everybody, reading comments on the channel and reading Twitter and everything else, everyone was just so buzzing, weren't they, for the start of the season? And Rangers did a Rangers thing, didn't they, on the first Saturday of the season?
Yeah, that's the only way you can label it, really. The same mistakes happening, the same game, just different players in the Rangers shirts for this one. It was a really poor day at the office. As you say, the anticipation, the build to this game was something I think all Rangers fans were desperate for. We had obviously years of getting close and building a team, and then at that point the team had just stayed together too long. Those players had left, and we were looking forward to obviously a new team, new players, new ideas, and it just didn't come together for whatever reason or another. But one game in, I guess you'll hold some slack that way, but it's got to be a massive improvement for tomorrow's game anyway.
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. Welcome to everyone in the live chat. Been flicking some comments up on the screen as Jack and I have been talking. I'm going to try and keep on top of those, obviously, as well as obviously having our conversation about Rangers tonight. But look, before we move on to talk about tomorrow night, which is an absolutely massive game, as we all know. First thing I'm going to ask Jack is, though, I think a lot of fans of other teams, and I down here in England, I've got a lot of friends who support obviously English Premier League teams, and the one thing that gets levelled at us a lot of the time as Rangers fans is, do you think that it's a bit of an overreaction from Saturday, or do you think that the reaction that we've had has been fair to, given the calibre of the performance and what we saw on Saturday?
I would say it's fair, to be quite honest with you, because you look at obviously the Premier League and you look at other leagues across even England, that they are really competitive. Loads of teams gunning for promotion spots, Champions League spots, the league. There's a lot of competition there. You come up here, it's Rangers and Celtic really. One slip up nowadays is vital. It's fatal in terms of your challenge for the title, and especially to do that in the first game of the season. You could maybe cut the team some slack and the management some slack if you had saw the vision, the tactics, and the idea that we're kind of going for. But we literally served up not one thing different to any other season when we go to these places, and I think that was the most disappointing thing. There'll be people that will have their opinions all over about the reaction to the game being warranted, maybe too early, cut the team some slack for them to gel and whatever. But I think we've seen through pre-season that it's not really been plain sailing, and there's been kind of question marks there already to what the identity of this side actually is. And then I think on Saturday that just we got a team in Kilmarnock that were really, really hard to beat. They played well themselves and took chances when they were able to, and I think it was just a really disappointing day for especially the first game of the season as well. It's really, really poor.
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. I mean, I think I agree with you, and I agree with a lot of Rangers fans that it isn't an overreaction. I think yes, it would be an overreaction if we'd played really well in pre-season and or towards the end of last season it had been fantastic, free flowing football. But it was just, for me, there was just no plan A. There was no system. The players didn't seem to know where they were playing or what they were supposed to be doing. There didn't seem to be any sort of idea or clue behind what was actually going on that pitch. And the other thing for me, Jack, that really disappointed me was that I know historically we haven't done great at Rugby Park and all that, but at the end of the day, why did it come as a surprise to Michael Beale? Because it seemed to come as a surprise that Kilmarnock were going to play the way they did play. That's one thing I really didn't understand about Saturday.
Yeah, I think Michael Beale has had a history so far in his short tenure as Rangers boss really overthink game plans and situations. Tav needs to move to Saudi. That's a bold one there. But situations and games and team selections. Not starting Cantwell, maybe going with some different players that on another day I wouldn't have picked, i.e. Lundstram. I don't think he was perfect to suit this game. You need players that are going to break the lines and look to attack, and you've got somebody like a Yanis Hadji on the bench there that I feel like could have been a really good option for centre midfield to do that. I think just across the board it was just, don't know if it was maybe the wrong team selection. As you say, the tactics were kind of non-existent. Our thought process was get Goldson or Suter to ping it long and try and catch Kilmarnock out with Cyril Dessers or Abdullah Seamer going through their defence. We got in a few times, never really created much. But I think the whole concerns for me lie in what was the game plan, what was the actual idea and the identity we were kind of looking for.
100%. I mean, I don't think fans would mind as much. Well, no, they would. I'll rephrase that. Fans would still hate to lose, but I think there would be a kind of silver lining to it if they could see a style of football or something emerging from that. But to me, there wasn't even a plan. There wasn't even, people said about we haven't got a plan B. But to me, there wasn't even a plan A there on Saturday. There was just nothing. And I mean, one of the things that's been levelled at this team is the complete lack of width to this team. That, yes, obviously, I think there is that need to look at having those players that can obviously work inside the channels, break balls inside the channels, draw teams out to put the strikers in behind. Hence why Beale wants 2 10s. But do you think this lack of width is something that is going to hurt us this season?
I think it'll hurt us in terms of, I don't think we've got much option to really change from it. I think we've got great options in the middle of the park with Kieran Dowell, Hadji, Lawrence, Danilo even can drop in behind. Sam Lammers, of course, has done a good job. Todd Cantwell, we've got players in the middle of the park for days, but I don't feel that we've really got the wide players to change if we have to, which is concerning for me. Obviously, you've got Abdullah Seamer, who I would really prefer to see out on the right-hand side rather than a left kind of false 9 striker or whatever he was playing on Saturday. The left-hand side, of course, you can go and play Rabbi Matondo, Cantwell there, but it's not ideal either. I think definitely with Fashion Sakala leaving, which I think might be a big letdown for us in terms of if we're looking for those options in the side. We'll need to try and replace him with somebody with pace and power out in the wings. And Kent as well could be his biggest fan, or you could hate him. I'm happy he's gone personally, but I think we definitely have to look at replacing him as well in terms of getting more options out on the outside, because I feel like that's how we're going to play our best football. At times you see teams all over the globe now. They play with that style, and I think we need to be flexible personally in terms of what game plans we can play.
100%. I mean, obviously, I think it was left down to the fullback to provide the width on Saturday, which didn't really come. And I mean, obviously, Ridvan is injured, and Ridvan is still injured, and is out, of course, to the Morton game in the League Cup now, so he's not there. Borna Barisic, I'm sure we've all got opinions on Borna and how he's played so far, and James Tavernier hasn't had the best start to the season or the best pre-season. Now, one of the things that's become very obvious, I think, the amount of stick that Tav has come in for pre-season and after that first game is more than I've seen in recent times, and he does get stick, doesn't he? But do you think the stick that he gets is warranted, or do you think it's just a minority that don't like him? I mean, is it genuinely that his defense is that bad at this moment in time?
Tavernier's a really, really hard one to sort of call, because I like the player. I like, obviously, what he's done for the club. I feel like he's kind of repeating himself now, though. That's the thing I kind of get it. It's what he's near into 10 years at Rangers since obviously 2015. That's coming up close. Now he's been the captain for a while. He's obviously led us to some good moments, but I think coming out with the same stuff after that game, being like, we'll learn for this. We've heard it all before, and it feels like, are we ever going to learn for it if we're still talking about the same thing? I think criticism can go either way for Tavernier. I think he's a great player when he's on his game. I think when he's bad, though, he's probably the worst player on the pitch. And I think people are maybe just fed up with there not being another option there. Obviously, Dujon Sterling's came in, and hopefully they two will be fighting out for the position. But do you really think Michael Beale's got it in him to go and drop his captain? I'm not entirely sure on that. But I think the Tavernier criticism for me can go either way, to be honest with you. I think I definitely, after the weekends, that kind of rubbed me up the wrong way. I thought, mate, what are you talking about? Like, why are we still having this discussion? But he's definitely one, especially for last season as well. He obviously contributes with goals and assists and whatever else for the team, which is great. But I think his performance needs to get better for him to obviously stay in that position long enough.
Yeah, I think so. I think he contributes with the assists and the goals and things like that, but he does need to step it up. But I think possibly what we need to see, I think, is Beale having the courage to perhaps occasionally take him out of the team and put Sterling in, because I think if he sees someone else going into his position and perhaps doing well, which I'm confident Sterling can do, it may actually push Tav's level back up, and that may be something that that Beale may want to look at. Now, one concern for me, obviously, is Ridvan is out, and Ridvan seems to be another Kamaru for the amount of injuries that he seems to get. Borna Barisic, to me, after he had that sort of kind of scuffle, didn't he, with their left, I think it was with their right back, or he had a scuffle with someone, and he just didn't seem to fancy it after that. Do you think that Borna's time is up at the club, and after Saturday we really do need to, even tomorrow, throw Sterling in at the deep end and put him in at left back, or do we have to keep the faith with Borna?
Personally, I feel that Borna's time's been up quite a while ago. I would have been looking at getting rid of him ASAP. I think Ridvan's obviously came in towards the end of last season when he got his opportunity and done really well, I thought. Took his chance and played really well. He said that again, a poor start to pre-season, but I don't feel like we can really cover anyone in glory really in pre-season, apart from maybe a fair few. But obviously the horror show, Olympiacos at home, and then the Hoffenheim game away, had a couple of goals where he lost out to his man. But for me, Borna Barisic, I'm not comfortable with him at left back anymore. I feel that exactly as you said there, if his head goes down after one scuffle as a Rangers player, I really think that's the writing on the wall. If he's not got the mentality to go and get one over on the guy again, I think that tells you everything you kind of need to know about Borna Barisic. He's obviously got a great delivery, but I think his mentality is just not strong enough to play for the club anymore. I would love to see Dujon Sterling flung in and hopefully get something different down that left-hand side. But personally, for me, I can still see it being Borna Barisic. I just hope it's not for a full season and we can get either Ridvan or Sterling in there ASAP.
Yeah, I think so. Definitely. I mean, the other thing about Borna for me, Jack, I don't think I'm sure you've noticed this as well, is the fact that even with his deliveries now, there's two things he does that kind of get to me. Number one is the fact that he seems to, Ibrox especially, he runs to halfway, he stops, he turns round and then passes it back to Suter or to Goldson or to whoever's playing centre back. I mean, that's one indication for me that his confidence is totally gone, and you can hear the crowd getting on his back and just groaning when that happens. And the second thing is, at times I feel that he's now just throwing the ball into the box because he thinks, oh, I can still do this crossing thing, but he doesn't actually even look at who's in the box. He just lobs it into the box because he thinks that's the one thing I can still do. So he does seem to be completely gone on that aspect.
Yeah, I think as you say, his attributes in terms of his deliveries and his crossing has kind of always been his bread and butter. It's always something that you'll look to Borna Barisic and think, that's exactly what he's good at. I never think he's been defensively strong. I never really think he's had pace or power. I think he's just kind of been lucky, to be honest, that he's been at the position and at the club for as long as he has. Definitely a position for me that needs an upgrade on it, alongside obviously with Ridvan there. If the offers had come in for Borna Barisic, I'd let him go, but it just seems that Michael Beale doesn't want to let him go at the moment, and he'll probably still be at the club. I just fear for the next however 3 or 4 games that we've got to go with Borna and the team, like how that left-hand side is going to look, because we're obviously playing some good opponents in the next couple of weeks, and I don't know if he's going to be able to handle it.
Yeah, absolutely, 100% agree with you on that one. Now, one of the things that kind of got to me from Saturday was, I don't know whether you saw it. I think with Kilmarnock and at times as well, not just with Kilmarnock but with other teams, we show teams too much respect. And as much as we all hate that a lot from across the city, and I think we were talking about this off air, they just seem to go places and think, right, we'll go and do what we're going to do. We'll have a go at them. We'll score 5 or 6 goals. They may get a couple, but it doesn't really matter because we'll smash them. Whereas for me, at times, I think we overthink it. We show too much respect. We don't kind of realize that we are the team that is supposed to be going out there and setting the tempo, setting the agenda. I mean, do you think that's fair, Jack?
Yeah, 100%. I think we go to venues and, well, definitely recently under Michael Beale, we try and again, coming back to that overthinking thing, like, just play your football, play how Rangers are supposed to play. We're meant to go and dominate, set the tempo, fair off, and go and just go for teams. We just don't seem to be doing that. We seem to be kind of feeling teams out and maybe letting them come onto us, try different game plans, just play what you want to play. Again, it's maybe hard to say because I don't know if anybody actually knows what Michael Beale's style is. So if we go and implement a style of football, stay with it. And obviously, when it comes to your opponents, like in Europe and stuff, by all means, use your football expertise to go and adapt and change game plans for them. But by all means, when we're playing Kelly away, we should not be changing for anybody.
Yeah, exactly. And I think as well, I mean, one of the things you touched on, I think we both touched on it, is the team selection. And I don't think it's just, and I think this is why this reaction that we've had post Kilmarnock is not unfair. Why are we playing 2 holding players against teams that are vastly inferior to us? I can see perhaps the need to play the 2 holders against Celtic and in Europe. I get that. I can get the need for that. But do you think we are, and it's not just Beale that's done this, it seems to be in recent times it's gone right back across. We're being far too cautious against these teams and we're not actually just attacking them and doing what we should do. Do we need 2 holding midfielders is guess what I'm trying to say.
No, definitely not. As you say, there's games you'll need the extra protection in the middle of the park where teams will play and come out and be open against you, and those games are going to be your Aberdeens, maybe your Hearts away, Celtic in the league for definite. But then of course, away from home, I would definitely always pair that up. But the midfield I want to kind of see play the majority of this season, bearing all 3 are fit, is Raskin, Cantwell, and Cifuentes. When he gets into it, that kind of is a perfect balance in midfield. Where obviously you've got the box to box and Cifuentes. You've got this deep line kind of playmaker in Raskin, and then obviously you've got Cantwell that can provide moments of magic when he's on it, and also do the dirty work as we've seen when he's been here. So even Kieran Dow adding into that as well kind of gives you a nice option, but I don't feel like we should ever be going anywhere and really playing Jack and Lundstram or Lundstram and Raskin, kind of, for example. I think it's not really needed. We need two players, one box to box, one attacking minded midfielder, and then one guy can sit back. I feel like that's all these kind of games will need.
Mm-hmm. I mean, one of the things for me, Jack, was when I saw that lineup on Saturday, and it came up on the Twitter feed and everything. And I clicked on it and looked on it, and I saw. I think some people think I get on this guy's back too much, but when I saw John Lundstram's name on the team sheet after pre-season and after towards, I think really the end of last season, I just honestly thought, why? What has he got on Michael Beale that keeps allowing him to actually be selected? You know, I'd love to know someone to tell me what Lundstram contributes to this team, because to me it seems like all he ever does is drop into the back 2, doesn't go forward, loses the ball, passes it sideways, passes it backwards, or fouls someone. There doesn't seem to be any sort of actual meaningful contribution from the guy. I mean, I don't know what your impressions are of him, Jack, but that's certainly what I get from watching Rangers play.
Yeah, I'm the exact same as you. I feel like he contributes absolutely nothing to the 11 anymore. I feel like he really slows the game down. As you say, probably the worst cameo I've ever seen is him against Olympiacos. When he came on, he just lost the ball about 10 times and was squaring up to players and stuff like that. I think that kind of sums up Lundstram so far this season. as you say, when that team sheet comes out, I think everybody was expecting Borna Barisic to be there, obviously with the news prior that Ridvan Yilmaz wouldn't make it. But I think Lundstram's a huge surprise to everybody, thinking, why? Just why? What has he shown in pre-season to warrant a start in the first game of the season? He's one of the guys that in a rebuild probably shouldn't be here anymore. With his attitude and his application towards the game last season, and in pre-season as well. Nobody's seen anything from him. I'm probably the same as you. I get on at this guy on Twitter a lot as well. But not a fan.
Yeah, I mean, he had a few good months with the club, and he did well in the Europa League run, but that is literally about it. But I think the thing is, he's got history of this. I mean, I've heard some Sheffield United fans talking about him, and they said when he first came into the club, he started badly, then was good, and then just fell away again. It does seem to be the kind of way that he works, and I think we're definitely seeing the fall away again of Lundstram. And it did worry me slightly, Jack, today that he was put up in front of the media before the game against Servette. I mean, I'm really hoping that's not a sign that he's going to play tomorrow.
No, I hope so. As I think a lot of people have saw as well. Usually press conferences, whoever's kind of doing them, it's maybe an inclination that they're going to start. I hope not. I hope we see the debut of Cifuentes, and I hope we see that midfield kind of in full flow. Servette, I believe, have got multiple first team players missing as well. So perfect opportunity to go and play your most attacking team possible, and hopefully leave Ibrox with a good performance and a healthy scoreline going into next week in Switzerland.
Absolutely, 100%. And now, obviously that I know you've seen the Michael. We spoke off air. We've both seen the Michael Beale press conference today, and I was listening to it on the way back home from work today, and I nearly crashed the car when I heard this comment that he was okay with the style. It was just a need for more decisiveness. I mean, I seriously nearly crashed my car on the way home because I was just like, what style? Which game was he watching? Did he have an EPL friendly game on his phone that he was watching during the game? Because I mean, what's your take on that comment, Jack?
Yeah, pretty much the same as yours. When you see that all over Twitter and you watch obviously the press conference on YouTube, it's just really concerning. And obviously you don't see anything in the game, and Michael Beale kind of is open with being that's okay. That's kind of, we just need to be more clear cut. We need to be more decisive with our play. That's just really concerning for me. I think if Michael Beale keeps making these comments as well, it's going to end up getting the full fan base just on his back consistently. For me, Michael Beale has a lot of answering to do with his selection and his tactics for tomorrow night. I mean, if we don't get a performance, I think there could be a huge amount of pressure mounting on his back. But I think as far as his press conference goes today as well, he said this team won a lot of games last season, and my response to that would be how many of them were actually meaningful games. We obviously went on a great run, and then we got to the Old Firm game and got beat, and then that whole run is kind of just forgotten about. You lose the biggest game at the end of it, then who cares? It's definitely the mentality and the big games we need to work on. And Michael Beale's not really won a big game since he's been here, so I think for him to come out and say that, it's a bit ludicrous.
Absolutely. It's just that funny. I love that comment from Andy Campbell there. It said that John Lundstram is his mate and he's watching this and he's going to he's been on the phone. He's going to knock us out, apparently. You know what? He'd probably miss anyway. or he'd be so slow and have time to run away. So I'm not worried about him anyway. So tell him to come on the show, and I'm happy to have a discussion with him about his standard of play. Not a problem. Now, one of the other things that came out of the press conference today was Michael Beale spoke about Fashion Sakala. I mean, look, Fashion is a man who divided a fan base, didn't he? There was the guys that loved Fashion to bits and thought he was great, and there was others that just didn't rate him at all. I mean, but one thing about Fashion, though, I mean, before we talk about what Michael Beale said about him, it was that the statement he made yesterday and the way he addressed the fans, the management, the players, I think was absolute class. And I think Fashion deserves a lot of praise for the way he's left the club. He's done it in the right manner.
Yeah, I think obviously people, as you say, will have their opinion on Fashion Sakala, positive or negative. But in terms of his situation at the moment, the post he put out last night was really well worded. It's what I would kind of expect for Fashion Sakala. He's came here and he's been nothing but smiles, you could say. He's been the most positive guy in the room. But I think Fashion Sakala will always kind of be remembered and haunted by those two misses against Celtic. That's kind of where people will get their opinion from. Obviously, I don't think he's the most technical footballer ever, but as the comment says there, we're going to lose a barrel of the goals we getting rid of him. I think when he came into the team last season, obviously he was kind of a bit part at the start of the season, came in further through the season, and I think he looked like one of our best players at times. He looked like one of the guys you would think, did this guy win a raffle to play football or something like that? But I think most of the time you could always count on him to contribute either a goal or assist, and I think that's going to be a massive kind of loss to the side. I think we're getting a good fee in for him, of course, between about 3 and 4 million, which is good. But I'll definitely miss Fashion Sakala. I'll miss his kind of erraticness on the ball, and obviously that opportunity obviously kind of pop up with a goal when needed. So I wish him all the best as well. I think he's obviously a top guy.
He is 100%. And yeah, I mean, he's a good guy. Nothing against his attitude. Nothing against the way he plays the game. Sorry, my dog's just decided to come in and out of the room. But no, nothing against the way he goes about himself. He has been class from that aspect. But it was interesting what Michael Beale said today about Fashion Sakala. He said obviously he's close to the move to Saudi, and it was something that for his family he felt that Fashion couldn't turn down. But he said something interesting for me, Jack, which was Fashion was one of the players that I was going to rely on. Interesting comment there. It seems to me that, I don't know if Beale's just saying that or whether he genuinely didn't want to sell Fashion Sakala.
Well, that's the kind of thing with Michael Beale. I don't know if you can ever kind of believe what he's actually saying. We've seen before, we've been close to signing players and he's kind of rubbished them, and then a day later we've signed them. So I think you kind of always need to take Michael Beale's comments with a pinch of salt that way. But I do believe he would have probably been quite an important player for Michael Beale's side this season. I found it pretty strange when I heard the rumours that he was kind of told that he can find a new club and stuff like that. That kind of, I was like, why do that to Sakala, who obviously ended the season really strong last year? But I think it was maybe a discussion. It was good, healthy money for the club, healthy money, and a nice place to live, obviously for Fashion and his family. And he obviously chose to make the move, and we can maybe reinvest it in a wide player that will suit. So I think that's some comments maybe to read into further down the line as Sakala maybe speaks and opens up on his time at Rangers to see how this kind of move came about. But that's kind of that for me.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, look, Fashion, I think some fans have been a little bit guilty of reinventing history when it comes to Fashion Sakala. I've heard comments over the last couple of days, like, if Fashion had played Saturday, we'd have been fine, we'd have won the game. And I think, well, yeah, where he may have scored, but then again, he may have equally have fallen over his feet or run into the corner flag. That's Fashion all over. But yeah, we wish him all the best. And I think you're 100% right with Michael Beale. You can't always. And look, I support the guy. I will continue to support the guy because he's Rangers manager. But I agree with you. At times, you can't always trust what he's saying. He says one thing one week, and then literally 3 to 4 days later, you'll get a completely different take on the matter. We just got to look at the comments over Alfie last season. When he pretty much slaughtered him after that Wraith Cup tie, and then 2 or 3 days later was talking about how wonderful his relationship was with Alfie. So yeah, I agree with you. Beale, to me, Jack, says far too much at times.
Yeah, I think he really badly needs to be pulled to one side and told how to really speak to the media properly, because I think that could be one thing as well. Obviously, if the results don't go our way and we maybe continue on this vein of form and we fall into a kind of rut, I think he's a guy who, in those situations, might not be the best to speak on the club, to be honest with you. It's the kind of idea I get from him. But I think definitely some skills need to be learned for him and the whole squad in the media side, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. Obviously, we're going to moving on to tomorrow. Tomorrow is a huge game, and that's one thing I actually do agree with John Lundstram on. It is an absolutely massive game tomorrow night against Servette. I think one of the things for me, Jack, do you think there's a danger from some fans and possibly maybe even some of the players that they underestimate Servette? Because I think all the talk coming into this round was, look, it's going to be Genk. It's going to be Genk. Genk are the best team. Genk are a fantastic team. We're going to have to play Genk. And now we haven't got to play Genk. Servette. Do you think there is a danger of underestimation there from fans and players, or will it be just one group, do you think?
I think definitely both sides could look at it that way. I think it's a tricky tie. I think either Genk or Servette were going to be a tough one, but I think the way Servette kind of played last week, down to 10 men very early on, grind the game out, they get back into it a couple of times, and then obviously take the win on penalties. I think that's something that's for me anyway. I'm looking at, and I think they must be a very resilient side and kind of work for each other all over the pitch to get a result of that against Genk, who were a really good side in the Belgian Pro League last year. So I think they've definitely got qualities. I think with them losing some players due to visas and injuries and suspensions and stuff will play in our favour. But yeah, I think the players will need to be right up for it. I don't want it to be kind of another Malmo situation for a few years ago where we kind of just go in and expect to roll them over. Of course, we need to go and put a performance on tomorrow night and win by a comfortable margin to kind of bring the mood up in the place again. But by all means, I think we'll take Servette lightly, and then away from home, I think it's going to be a really, really tough tie to get over the line. But we've been there before in the Europa League a couple of years ago, so it's quite a lot of new players this time around. But those players with experience are going away and sort of grinding out and performing in Europe. So I hope they can kind of take that form into this game, and then obviously the new players can sort of hit the ground running at Ibrox.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, obviously, Servette it's going to be, I think, tougher than a lot of people are expecting. Thank you to Jim Sloan, who's £10 donation to the channel. Yeah, beer is expensive down here in England, Jim. It is very expensive, especially down where I live. So thank you very much. And I do like Curry's comment as well. My mate Curry, he said, imagine putting Lunny in for a presser after the way he's been performing. Not the brightest of ideas. I've got to say, I was very surprised to see him. They're making those comments today. But one of the things for me, Jack, is that, I mean, one of the things I've been saying throughout the build up for this season, and obviously once we knew the draw as well, for me, it is vitally important that we get through these qualifiers and get into the group stages because of two factors for me. One is the prestige, the pulling power of the Champions League. And if we're seen as a team that are regularly champions, a Champions League team, it does have a pulling power with the players. But I know it's not trophies, but realistically, are we going to win a European trophy? Probably not. It's the money at the end of the day. And I think I was reading yesterday, something I mentioned on my news video this morning. We get 5 million if we go through this round, and then 25 million in perspective from the group stages. That's 30 million pounds. When we got to the Europa League final, we made 18 million for the entire run. So you can see the difference between Champions League money and Europa League money. For you, Jack, is it absolutely vital that Rangers get to this group stage this year?
Well, of course, I want to see Rangers win football matches, and that means obviously win the games to get into the Champions League. I think by all means we need to get by Servette for that 5 million to be banked, definitely. By the looks of it, PSV are kind of going strong against Sturm Graz at the moment as well.
They're 2-0 up.
So it's looking likely that it's going to probably be them if we progress. Obviously, the rematch from last year, they were a really tough team then as well. They gave us a really, really strong game. I think if we overcame PSV again, it would be massive. I think that would be a huge, huge coup for Michael Beale's side to get one over them again. Obviously, the finances that come with that, the exposure of the Champions League, and then the players you can sort of hopefully bring in with that added funds into the bank account would be second to none. I'd like to see this team going competing on the top level. Then I do think about if we dropped into the Europa League, it would be pot one. It would be obviously getting a very favourable group. You would hope to have 3 teams on your playing level that you can go and compete with and have a better chance of getting out the group with. So I think you can look at it both ways, obviously in terms of the finances and the exposure. But I think our sort of better suited. Our team's sort of better suited to competing in the Europa League, and I would like to see us maybe go on another journey there. But I think, as you say, I just want to see Rangers win. So hopefully we end up in the Champions League. Worst case scenario, we're in the Europa. But
yeah, I mean, I for definitely, I think get through. We've got to get through this round at least. I think the 5 million is we do need to increase our revenue. We do need to increase the amount of money we've got. We are not making as much money unfortunately, as that lot across the city at this moment in time. We do need our revenue streams to increase. And we get through this round, even if we then were to lose in the next round, and apparently PSV are now 3-0 up against Sturm Graz after only 33 minutes. They are a very good team, and I think it will be it would be a test. But then I suppose we said that last year, didn't we? And arguably PSV had a better, PSV have lost a lot of players this summer again. So, who knows what happens. But I can see what we're saying about the Europa League. I suppose in an ideal scenario, Jack, we qualify for the Champions League. We finish third in the group and we drop down into the Europa League after Christmas.
Yeah, that's kind of the ideal way. You get the money for the Champions League, you get that exposure for the players to play there with Rangers, and then obviously you drop down, you've still got European football after Christmas. I would love to have European football after Christmas again. I think that was something that was maybe missing in the season, kind of just went totally flat and stale after the poor performances in the Champions League, and then obviously have nothing to fall back on. But it will be interesting if we can obviously get past Servette. I think that's the main thing, 100%. We need to beat these guys and get to the playoff. It's looking likely it's going to be PSV, as you say. I think they were probably stronger last year when you look at their team now. They've obviously lost Xavi Simons and Cody Gakpo since we played them. So, and we could be facing Malik Tillman, which would be some sorry. But all focus for me, obviously, on Servette. Get by this one. Hopefully, get back into a feel good factor, and then, as you say, if the mentality and the mood in the camp's right, I think we can totally take on PSV and see how they are. But Servette is kind of all that's on my mind at the moment.
I think one of the things that sort of has really occurred to me over the last couple of days is we looked at, if you look at pre-season and the teams we played pre-season, we played obviously Newcastle, who were a Champions League team. We played Olympiacos, who obviously aren't this year. They're in the Europa League this year, but they have previously been a Champions League team. Hamburg, I think, was slightly obviously out of the only. Hoffenheim have been a Champions League team, a Europa League team. I think, and also look at the players we've signed. Do you think that there's been too much of a focus on Europe this year and preparing for Europe rather than the league? And if it all does come crashing down, is that going to really, show that it's kind of failed already?
Yeah, you could look at it that way. I think definitely with the players we've signed them with a pedigree. Obviously, they've played in top leagues. They've obviously performed well. Maybe players like Dessers and Lammers and Dow, for instance, have maybe lost their way a wee bit, and Michael Beale feels like he can get them back to their best. But you're signing Danilo, who obviously had a really strong season with Feyenoord. This team, to me, looks capable of competing in Europe. To be honest, if it's sort of functioning right and on paper, it looks really good. I guess we kind of just need to wait and see in action to how it is. The league should always be the priority, 100%. But
agreed.
It seems like the money is kind of coming first, and maybe the boards and Michael Beale's mind for these type of fixtures. Obviously, Rangers want to play in the top competitions, but the league's the bread and butter, and that kind of has to be done and won first until we really are thinking about Europe. I definitely think that shouldn't be our main focus. I believe these players have hopefully been brought in to compete on kind of all fronts and gives a better chance in Europe.
Absolutely, 100%. Now, obviously, tomorrow night, what I mean, what do you need? What do you want to see from Rangers tomorrow night? And from minute 1 to minute 90, what do we need to see from Rangers against a team that are going to come? Servette, look, listening to the Swiss journalist that Derek Clark had on Rangers Review the other day, and listening to, I think it was somebody on This Is Ibrox the other day was talking about them as well. They seem like a very physical team, a team that are not afraid of a foul. I mean, is it 7 yellow cards and 1 red card against Genk in that second leg? So they are clearly very physical. They're very direct as well. What do we need to see from our team tomorrow to get the best out of them?
Well, I think first and foremost we need to compete with that aspect of the game well. I think it will be no kind of different to what we face in Scotland with some teams that are kind of really physical, obviously pick up fouls, try and take their chances when they come. I do think Servette will sit in, and I think they'll maybe look at Kilmarnock's performance and try replicate that. We'll need to find ways to play around that. Obviously, they're going to have more quality on the break than Kelly probably would, and we'll need to be focused and switched on in the defence. That's kind of the warning signs, maybe at the fullback areas. Goldson and Suter, I'm kind of happy with, but there can't be more mistakes like there was in the goal on Saturday. We need to show more intensity. We need to show more physicality. We need to show hunger. That we want to actually go out there and play for the badge and win the game. I would love to see a resounding performance with a really strong result going away from home, because then you can kind of, if you win this game 3-4-0, you can kind of rotate and be in a good frame of mind going into the second leg. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting night at Ibrox. If we don't start fast and we don't start sort of getting the fans on side, it could become a really toxic place. We've seen that happen before, obviously, but I just hope for Michael Beale's sake and obviously everybody attending the game and the players, we really, really show up and start playing the football that we all know these players can play.
Absolutely. I mean, what I'd love to see is actually go out from the first minute to the last minute and actually just do what Michael Beale's promised and said that he was going to do with these new players. Just take the handbrake off, because to me it seemed like the handbrake was on, the foot was on the foot brake, and the car had gone into reverse on Saturday. It's actually and go for them from minute one. Impose our style on them. I mean, looking at the players we've potentially got that can play tomorrow night. You know, looking at that European squad. Cantwell, Danilo, Cifuentes, Lammers, Raskin, you've got players there that if they go at a team, they can cause some serious damage to teams. And for me, it's vitally important that Todd Cantwell is given that role to be able to go where he wants to create, to move in the spaces, to be sort of in that 3-10 role. You know, even if that means sort of curtailing Sam Lammers to some extent, because Cantwell was the best player in Scotland in the second half of the season by an absolute mile. And he is a class act, and he needs to run the game tomorrow night. And things need to go through him. And I just want to see us go out there and actually go for them and impose what we want to do on them, and not worry about what they're going to do to us, not worry about how they're going to play. Just go after them, because I think if we go after them from minute one, we actually push them back, force them back, we can get a result. But for me, Todd Cantwell is kind of central to that tomorrow night, Jack. I mean, what's your take on Cantwell tomorrow?
Yeah, I think it's quite a difficult one with Sam Lammers kind of playing in that 3-10 role at the moment. He's probably still adjusting to life at Rangers in that position. I've liked him in pre-season. I think he had a poor game on Saturday, but who didn't? It's obviously the decision to make if you want to have Cantwell and Tim on the pitch at the same time, kind of doing that, or you maybe bring in Dowell into the midfield and you throw Cantwell up a bit further. For me, I'd probably have Lammers and Cantwell on the pitch at the same time. I would like to get as much kind of attacking power on the pitch for minute one as possible. If we need to go and go for a team, which of course we should be at Ibrox. I would reckon the crowd would be up for it. Obviously, a disappointing result on Saturday. We all kind of just want to see Rangers playing well now and get something to be excited about. So I'm looking forward to the game. Hopefully, we get that performance. Cantwell is 100% going to be vital with that, definitely.
Absolutely. I mean, I think looking at the midfield, I'd like to see tomorrow. Now, a lot of people have said that Ryan Jack needs to play tomorrow. Where would you stand on that, Jack? Does Jack need to play tomorrow, or do you think we can do without him tomorrow against Servette? Is he a necessary?
I think I would rather kind of Ryan Jack starting over Lundstram, but personally for me, the team I would like to see play, Ryan Jack doesn't start in. I think Ryan Jack is an option maybe as the game goes on, or if the game doesn't go to the way we want, maybe he comes in and he kind of shows up the midfield a wee bit. But yeah, I by all means don't see him as a starter for this game. I think playing maybe two sort of defensive-minded midfielders in this game again isn't going to suit us any well. I think we really need to go out there with the most attacking lineup we can. And I think Jack is an option maybe later on in the game.
Absolutely. I mean, personally, I'd like to see a midfield of Raskin, Cantwell, and Cifuentes start, and really give Cantwell and Cifuentes the license to get at Servette. Who is that? What's your start? Is that your starting midfield, or have you got a different starting midfield in mind?
I'd probably agree with you as well. I think that's got a nice balance to that midfield. Obviously, everybody in the support's kind of desperate to see Cifuentes after that transfer scenario kind of lasted a couple of months. He's finally here. Everybody wants to see him. The thing that kind of always annoys me about Rangers is how long it takes for these players to get their first starts. And I think this guy's obviously come back off a strong season in the MLS. He's had a couple of weeks off. He's kind of been playing non-stop. He's been at the World Cup, obviously the previous season as well. I think he's tested and he's tried and tested to go straight into this lineup when needed, and it's the exact same for Danilo as well. We've bought the guy for that much. He's impressed in pre-season with Feyenoord. Get the guy in the lineup and we'll see how he is at Ibrox. I think those two are definitely the most exciting bits of business we've done so far, and I think the fan base will just want to see them in the same team now.
Absolutely. I think Danio's got to start. I mean, one of the things that really surprised me was on Saturday they didn't play Danilo from the start. And I know Danio's had less time to work with the players than, say, Dessers has or Lammers has, but Danio's fully match fit. The guy was smashing goals in right, left, and centre for Feyenoord during pre-season. He's bang on it, and I don't know why he didn't use him. And just you can tell. When a player first comes onto the pitch and his first touch, not just on the pitch, but his first touch throughout the game, you can just tell with Danilo, he is a class act. The way he brings the ball under his control instantly, and he's ready to go run with the ball or spray a pass out or take a shot. He's there, isn't he? And I think he's got to play for me. And I'd personally pick him over Cyril Dessers tomorrow. To me, Jack, Dessers just does not look fit at all at this moment in time. He looks less fit than Alfie, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm not really sure on the situation with Dessers. I think it's obviously Michael Beale's desperate to get the guy in. He apparently fit the system really well. He's obviously a good striker. He's shown it in previous seasons. I think hopefully with another week of training under his belt, it would hopefully kind of maybe be towards getting sharper. I'd like to see Danilo and Dessers play together. I don't know if I would maybe do that tomorrow, but at some point, definitely in the near future. Obviously, that kind of leaves your options with Abdel Asima, kind of. I think we're kind of humming and hawing in terms of who we're really going to take into this game. I would like to see Danilo and Dessers play, but definitely first off, Danilo, I think he has to play for me.
Absolutely. And I mean, one of the big concerns tomorrow has got to be the defence. I mean, I'm a big fan of, and I know not a lot of people aren't, but I'm a big fan of Connor Goldson's, and I think Connor got a lot of stick on Saturday, and I think part of it is actually Beale's fault because Connor shouldn't have played Saturday because he hasn't kicked the ball in competitive football for 3 months. I mean, I know he's been training on and off with it during preseason, but he hasn't played a single minute of preseason football. Like I said, he hasn't played a competitive game before Saturday in 3 months. He's not match fit for me, and I think he looked a bit slower on Saturday. But again, it's just a lack of sharpness and a lack of fitness. Do you think Goldson starts tomorrow night, or do you think we go in with Balogun because of Goldson's lack of fitness, or do you think we just realistically at the moment we have no choice? We have to play Connor Goldson.
Well, I think definitely as a first off, I think we haven't really no other option but to play Connor Goldson for me. I'm a huge fan of Connor Goldson. I really think he's the vocal leader at the back. I think he, for me, is the people's captain in a way. He kind of shines over Tavernier in that respect. I think he's so vital to what we do that whenever he's even half fit, we need to play him. I think he's too vital to the side, and I think he provides a good balance and a good deal of leadership to the back line, which I think at the moment is desperately needed, especially with John Souttar obviously kind of coming into his own in his Rangers career. You've really got no other options apart from the two of them at the moment. So for me, I definitely Goldson starts. He did look a bit shaky at the weekend, obviously just being back fit is a bit of a concern, but I think Michael Beale knows Goldson's character enough to kind of think, this guy will play. He would play injured. He's kind of got that mentality about him. So I think that's why Michael Beale kind of trusts that Goldson will do a job, maybe even on a lack of fitness.
Yeah, I mean, that's like I said, that's one of the things that kind of got to me was, I don't think Connor was great on Saturday, but then as we've said before, who was? I mean, I think Raskin, someone as Jason in the comments, if I quickly pull that comment up, which is that only Raskin, Down and Butland got pass marks for Killy for him. And I'd be inclined to agree with that. They were probably the only three that did get the pass marks on. Everyone else was particularly poor. But Connor, I think, needs to get himself back fit. And I think any criticism of him is unfair at the moment because he is not 100% match fit. He's kind of, as you say, having to play because we have not got any other options. And perhaps that's one weakness of the summer transfer business that we haven't brought in a centre-back, Jack.
Yeah, definitely. I think something that we've kind of craved for too long, maybe even since 2018 when Connor Goldson joined the club as a partner for him who's as vital and as good as he is in the back line. I think that's something that needs to be looked at for the rest of the window, and something that's probably the most vital business we'll do this summer is getting a strong partner for Connor Goldson, because Suter's obviously great. I think Suter has done a lot of good things and he's shown promise that he can be a great player for this club. But I think Balogun's obviously a bit of a strange one, bringing him back, knowing that Leon King's injury wasn't really as bad as first perceived. Obviously, Austin Trustees went to Sheffield United now, and the Panzo deal and whatever else is off. I would like to hope we have more targets in line, with obviously more funds being brought into the club, with Glenn Kamara obviously imminently leaving the club at some point. Sakala obviously in the next couple of days will be confirmed to be leaving. So obviously there's funds going to be there. I just really hope we spend that on a defender, because I think it's kind of criminal we're going into the biggest games of the season so far with barely any fit options at centre half.
Yeah, absolutely, 100% agree. And obviously, news as well. I mean, I know Ben Davies is not in the Euro squad, but news that he won't be back until I think it was Tuesday, Wednesday next week. Michael Beale said with his training, and obviously, I think that's a whole other podcast on Ben Davies and people's views on Ben Davies. He's certainly again someone who divides the fan base. In terms of going to we're going to obviously have the first leg tomorrow night, then we go to Geneva next week. And apparently, for the first time in a long time, I think it's the first time since 2003, I think I heard, the stadium in Geneva will actually be sold out for the visit of Rangers. Just shows what a worldwide pull we are. Mm-hmm. What realistically do we need to take to Geneva to be in a strong position to get through this round, Jack?
I think at least three goals on Servette, I think, would leave the fan base really comfortable. Going into the away leg, obviously as Rangers, we never do anything easy, so there'll be that as well. But I'm hoping, especially with the game the other day, that we really provide a performance and get scoring goals. Michael Beale, as you say, wants to play with the handbrake off. We want to score plenty of goals. We want to provide such an attacking threat. So I think 3 goals at a minimum would be really comfortable. Obviously, if you go with a 2-0 lead, there's obviously the added pressure that they come straight out and score early, and then you're kind of, there's 1 goal in it for them to get back. So I think I'd like to win the game by a margin of 3 or higher tomorrow. I really think we need to turn on the style and really show what we can do.
Absolutely, 100% agree. I mean, to sort of bring it together, Jack, have you got a prediction for tomorrow night?
Well, I'd love to.
A head one.
I'd love to, obviously. I'd love to win the game 3 or 4-0. I think that would be a really strong statement to put out after the criticism on Saturday, after obviously the comments in the press conference today, to come out with obviously your brand new team, first competitive game at Ibrox this season, and really put on a show for the fans, and a really important game as well. I think we desperately need that. I'll get the fans kind of back on side, and looking forward to the Livingston game and what's to come. And I think that's what we desperately just crave, a direction and a style for what Michael Beale's kind of going for. So 3 or 4-0, please, Rangers.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I'd love it to be that 3 or 4-0. Hart says 3-0, 4-0 Rangers. I'm kind of thinking 3-1, just from the aspect. I just can't see us keeping a clean sheet. I just think the defense is too. The problem we've had, I think, the whole of the second half of last season, and the fact that this defense is basically the same defense, is we always give teams a chance. And I think in Europe, you give a team a chance, they'll take the chance, because the European opposition are just that much higher level than what we face week in, week out in the Scottish Premier League. So I think 3-1, and then hopefully we can get a draw at least in Geneva and hang on and get through. And then obviously once you play PSV, then who knows what happens. I think if it is to be PSV, I mean, Sturm Graz could make it a miraculous comeback in Austria. Who knows? Football is the most unpredictable sport in the world. But 3-1 for me. But yeah, I'd love it to be a 3-4-0, like you say, Jack, for definite. Okay, guys, I was obviously going to pull it together now. Jack, thank you so much for coming on the podcast tonight. I know it's a short notice, but thank you so much to talk about the game tomorrow night. Obviously, plug away, Jack. Plug every other Saturday podcast and let everyone know where they can find you.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me on again. I really enjoyed the chat tonight. It's kind of good to get the stuff out the system again that Rangers have brought into us so far already this season. So you can find us on YouTube at Every Other Saturday Podcast. We try and post every week with sort of updates as they come. It's obviously busy with transfers and start of the season and stuff. So you can find us over on YouTube at Every Other Saturday Podcast, and we're really active over on Twitter as well at Every Other Satu1, posting updates on transfers, our opinions and stuff like that, interacting with fans. So check us out.
And it's all for, okay, so obviously need to know where to find that. It's been on the banner at the bottom of the screen throughout the entire podcast, guys. So yeah, please check it out. I've got to say, I always try and catch up with the podcast on Spotify because I work and walking the dogs and stuff. And it's a great podcast, great listen. Really enjoyed listening last night. Listening to them getting their anger out over the game. It was nice to hear some of the industrial language as well. Getting your anger out last night on that game. But I think it's what we were all feeling, Jack. It's what we were all feeling inside. But yeah, guys, I can't recommend it enough. Go and obviously subscribe on YouTube for me, and obviously follow on Twitter. Once again, thank you to everybody in the live chat for your comments. It's been fantastic to have so many people on board, so many fantastic comments. Thank you again to Jim for the donation. As well, just a quick bit of housekeeping. Please come and join tomorrow night. Obviously, I'll be doing a live stream of the game here. Obviously, not showing the game because we can't do that because of copyright, but we will be talking about it and watching it at the same time. So it'd be nice to have a few of you obviously giving your thoughts, comments, and questions. And hopefully it'll be a game where we come away smiling rather than feeling like we are stuck at the bottom of some deep, dark well somewhere like we did on Saturday. Thank you, everyone, guys. And as always, just please remember for me two things. Number one, can you smash that like for me on the video? And number two, remember always, guys, we are the people.